Okay, season 11 dropped 10 or so days ago at this point. So we've had a little bit of time to figure it out, to try different things. Joining me here is my brother Lucid. He's appeared on this channel more than a handful of times, but this might be the first time that you're actually really hearing him speak. Okay, with that out of the way, let's jump right into Dagger. Okay, so first off, we're going to discuss Dagger. And as a lot of you may know, Lucid has been maining Dagger since season 3, so he's got a little bit of experience with it, so I'll let him kind of share some of his thoughts. But first, I'll just say the old primary, it did 60 damage, and now with the precise hits and the glancing hits, the precise hits do 60 damage. So at max level, it can do the same amount, but glancing hits go all the way down to 42 damage. Do you think that primary damages are less consistent now than what they used to be?
Absolutely. It's one of those where it's kind of been a direct nerf to the primary. Because, yes, you can get the same amount of damage as before, but its base damage is 42. So unless I'm perfect, I will be doing less damage than I previously had done. And Dagger's primary already wasn't that good to begin with. I mean, you're banking on the fact that you're getting your backstab in.
Yeah.
If you don't get your backstab in, you can do your primaries and get away with a kill. But even then, even the old way, it was very inconsistent. And with you having to be precise also makes you have to run in a straight line while hitting them. Before, I could previously sweep side to side and get some diagonal movement in there, which would make it harder to hit me. Yeah. Now, if I do that, it's like I'm just season 10 quick meleeing them to death because I can't get those precise hits.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's kind of an overarching theme for this season is before it was just a set amount of damage output that you're doing versus now you're kind of competing between the precise hits and the glancing hits. And that makes your damage output inconsistent. And I think that's a big deal for Melee because with the playstyle that Melee has, putting you in such great risk in order to do any substantial amount of damage output, you need consistency, and if you don't have consistency, then it makes Melee as a whole significantly more difficult to use viably at higher level lobbies. Did you have anything else on Dagger before we move on? We did have the evasive dash changes. Did you want to comment on those?
Yes. So for Dagger, dash is unique because if you're using guns, dash is how to get away, how to reposition. For Dagger, your dash is your ammo count. If I don't have dashes, my Dagger is ineffective. So, by taking one away, you've taken a third of the ammo that Dagger has. So now, instead of having a way to approach and get away, I can approach with 2 dashes. If I miss my backstab, I can have some sort of escape. Now, it's an all-in or an all-out. Either I use 2 dashes to get away or 2 dashes to get in and commit. If I miss my backstab using those 2 dashes, I'm dead. Because as we previously discussed, I can't do a lot of sideways movement anymore without completely tanking my damage.
Yeah.
It's ended up being actually more consistent to just spam the backstab. Because of their decreased time for the backstab, I am actually getting a higher DPS more consistently just spamming using the backstab.
Missed backstabs.
Yes. The lunge effect on the backstab also is a further distance than the primary's lunge. So that means that if they end up getting away a little bit, I can actually boost forward further with a missed backstab.
Wow. That's very weird.
And another thing that they also changed is when I am using my primary hits, instead of running at sprint speed, now I run at a normal running speed. So I actually have a clip of me chasing bot heavy, of me just spamming primary with the lunges coming into effect. and I cannot catch up to him.
And that's crazy because you're a light and he's a heavy.
Yeah, I'm a light, and so I should be able to catch up to him while swinging my dagger, especially with the lunge effect. But now, and this is another instance where the backstab actually comes in to play better, is that since the backstab lunge is further, I will be able to catch up to if I just spam the backstab.
Wow.
While the primary, I cannot.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's kind of safe to conclude that the dagger has received a sizable nerf at the end of the day for this season.
That is correct. And for it being one of the weakest weapons, arguably one of the weakest weapons, it's kind of seems unfounded.
Yeah. It's probably one of the least played as well, I would imagine. So I don't know why they would push that even further. All right, let's move on to the dual blades. Now, neither of us are terribly familiar with dual blades. I know I used it for a little bit. A couple seasons ago, I probably got it to like level 4 or 5, and that was about it. But they got rid of one of the attack sequences. They got rid of the third attack sequence of the primary. So now it's just the 2 sweeps to the left and then the 2 sweeps to the right, and it just loops that. And for those, it used to do 100 damage for the first 2 sweeps total, 50-50. So it'd be 100 for the first attack, 120 for the second attack, and then the final cross attack would also do 100 damage. Now it's just 114 for the precise hits and 78 for the glancing for both attacks. So it is a little bit of a buff from the first attack, but it's a nerf from the second attack, and the glancing is certainly not a nerf. So I don't think the damages themselves are that big of a deal. The thing that people are talking about is 2 things. So the first is the deflect. When you're blocking bullets, movement is now reduced by 50%, meaning like you move at a snail's pace compared to before when you're blocking. And also, incoming chip damage that you're blocking used to be 10%, now it's 20%. So you're taking double the amount of damage that you used to when blocking. And that's a big deal because people have been kind of saying that it makes it much less viable. The playstyle that it used to facilitate is much less viable. And then the cross slash that they have, that counterattack from blocking with the secondary, that does 140 damage with a precise hit and 84 damage in a glancing hit. So a big discrepancy between those. And the lunge is a set 5 meters no matter what. That is actually a pretty sizable lunge, don't you think? Or do you think that that's not very much?
I think that's quite far. It's further than the dagger lunge by itself, which is 4.5 meters. Increased to 4.5 meters.
Yeah.
That's the backstab lunge. I don't know what the primary lunge is because it's not that far.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I think it's a sizable distance. I think it can be used to be very aggressive, and I think it turns it into a different play style rather than an in-between of defense and offense, or of defense and offense. It changes it into a lot more of an offensive weapon.
Yeah. Well, and the thing I think is, I think it would be much more usable if the movement speed wasn't reduced so much while blocking, because then it could be used more aggressively. I think it will work very well in these lower level lobbies where people don't know how to run away when they're being attacked. But in these higher level lobbies, I think the huge decrease in movement while blocking means that the 5 meter range might still be ineffective. But I think you'll notice a very big difference between the type of game modes you're playing or the level of play you're fighting against.
I would agree. And I think that's pretty common with all melee weapons.
Right.
There is a huge discrepancy between more casual play and more competitive play. It's a lot bigger discrepancy than you see with guns.
Agreed.
Because for the melee, you just have to know how the play style works, and then you can play around it. Where for a lot of newer players or more casual players, they aren't spending the time to try and figure that out.
Right.
Especially for something they don't see very often.
Right. Right. I think people are just not as aware of the discrepancy. Like they see melee as a low skill ceiling weapon, which means that they think that high skill, like they think if I'm playing it now and I have 15 hours in it, I've about maxed out what I can do with it. And that's true to some degree with certain melee weapons, but you have other ones like Sledgehammer or Dagger, where they have a much higher skill ceiling, and even like Sword to some extent. You have a much higher skill ceiling than what people realize, and the way that melee plays at high levels isn't talked about. And we'll discuss this in future videos. But the way that they redesigned melee, these overarching systems that they implemented, actually benefits low-level melee play a lot, which is why you're seeing a lot of people praise it. But it punishes high-level play, because high-level play, the skills required to have melee still be viable in high levels, encourages a very specific style, a play style, and this new redesign actually kind of overwrites that play style a little bit. But we can discuss that later. I mean, that's out of the scope of this video. The third weapon is the Riot Shield. So the old damage was 90. They only have a primary attack, so 90 damage per swing. They also incorporated quick melee combos. This is actually one of the most quick melee comboed weapons in the game. So with proper quick melee combos, you could 2-tap mediums and 3-tap heavies. Now, at max damage output, you're only doing 82 with the precise hit and 57 with the glancing hit, which is crazy. Because with the old quick melee combos, you could do up to 130 damage per hit, and now at best you're doing 82 damage. That's a discrepancy of 50 damage. And that also means that best case scenario, instead of 2-tapping mediums, you're 3-tapping, and instead of 3-tapping heavies, you're 4-tapping. And more realistically, you're using 2 extra hits to kill a medium and 2 extra hits to kill a heavy. That changes the TTK by over half a second. I mean, that's probably almost more than a second, because it takes 0.81 seconds for the attack swing animation to occur. And without any way to cancel it with quick melee combos, that's an extra 1.6 seconds to kill a heavy compared to what it used to be in Season 10.
And for melee, that amount of time is a death sentence.
1,000%.
The longer you're closer to someone, the more damage they're just doing to you. Because they don't have to... While the melee doesn't have to aim as much as a gun, the gun also doesn't have to aim as much when they're that close up.
Right.
So having that amount of time discrepancy from what it used to be is huge.
Right. And I think it's made it to be, because I used to main Riot Shield a little bit. I'm max level with it. And it used to be a somewhat safe weapon to use in mid-level lobbies because of the shield, obviously. But surprisingly, it actually is oftentimes best when used very offensively. You can still do bishoping and things like that. Bishoping actually isn't quite as good as what it used to be, just with the hitbox changes and whatnot. But it is a very aggressive weapon, given its quick melee combos and the fact that you only have one style of attack. But they've introduced this shield bash that does 40 damage, a 3-meter lunge it knocks them back about 5 meters. I mean, that's cool, that's awesome, I like that. No major notes for that. But they've also increased the size of...
Have you seen where the shield bash is really effective in any case? Besides maybe hitting someone off stealing a cash out. But have you seen anything where it's like, oh, I use this besides canceling someone from interacting with something?
No, I don't see it viable in any way outside of that. I think it is a cool... I'm glad they implement it. I think it's cool. It's actually very similar to an idea I will be pitching in the future for a Riot Shield rework. But it's a cool way to cancel steals, and for those of you who didn't know, Riot Shield used to actually be able to cancel steals in a way that no other weapon in the game could. You could actually use your shield and block with it, and if you interrupted the enemy's line of sight to the cash box, it would cancel it. So Embark patched that out, so this is almost a way to implement that back for the Riot Shield, which I think is kind of cool. But Embark seems to be placing a lot of faith in how useful this new mechanic is, and as a Riot Shield main, or it used to be, I mean, someone who's very familiar with it, I see very little use case for it.
Yeah. Getting a glancing blow with the Riot Shield only being 57 damage is kind of insane to me.
Yeah.
Because it used to, like, you, as a medium, you're slower than a light. And with the, it used to not do that much damage in the first place.
No.
As a light melee player, I always enjoyed fighting the Riot Shields because their hit swing was so slow, it was pretty easy to predict it. So even though I am right up in their face, I never really found it to be an issue of their damage being too high. They could kill me too quickly.
Right.
So for them to decrease the damage, that just, it seems kind of odd to me that.
Yeah.
I know they're trying to force it a lot more into a defensive role.
100%.
But at the end of the day, you still need to get kills in order to... you can defend all you want, but if you can't output the damage that you want, it's going to become a 3v2 quickly and then a 3v1 because your teammates are the only ones that are outputting damage.
Right, exactly.
And so they'll just end up ignoring you, kill off your teammates, and then you have 3 people on you.
Right,
and you can't defend against that many people.
Exactly. And what's interesting is like that glancing being 57 damage. I remember you said this earlier that the dagger's primary outputs was kind of inconsistent because you're only doing 60 damage output. But you have to realize the Riot Shield swing is almost double as long as the dagger's primary, and you're actually doing less damage than the dagger's primary did last season.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So it's a double TTK length than the dagger's primary did. And dagger is not viable with just primary.
No. The dagger's primary is a last resort.
Right.
So for the glancing, for the Riot Shield to be less than the dagger primary,
and that's the only option you have.
A bit weird.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think this is actually probably the weapon that received one of the largest nerfs. Well, actually, it's competing with a lot. You have Dagger, you have Riot, and then we have one more that we're going to talk about in a minute. Okay. So the next one we're going to talk about is Sledgehammer. And I've been seeing a lot of praise and people talking about how Sledgehammer is like an A-tier weapon. Some people are even going as far as to call it an S-tier weapon now. Now, I think it is completely fair to say that the Sledgehammer was treated the best in this rework. Of all the melee weapons, it did not really receive any major numerical nerfs or anything like that. We're back to the 200 damage output for the secondary and up to 120 damage for the primary. That's 5 more than it's ever been. 200 is exactly where it used to be at its highest point. So Sledgehammer is kind of back to its former glory pre-season 7 in the eyes of a lot of people. But as a Sledgehammer main, I think there's more to it than meets the eye. In my notes here, actually, I've written punished the least, but the most to lose. And what I mean by that is Sledgehammer is, at this point, the only melee weapon that still has the option to potentially be viable at the highest level of play. You will never see a sword up there. You will never see a dual blades up there. Sledge is the only melee weapon that has access to that point. And even so, it barely is. The problem is with these nerfs to the play styles, with the lunge system and the stamina system and the precision system, it actually punishes the play styles to all the melee weapons to make them viable at higher levels of play. But with Sledgehammer being the only one capable at that high of a level, these changes to it actually, in my opinion, closes off permanently at this point, permanently closes off melee's viability at the highest level of play. Sledge was the last chance we had at it, and I think that that's now erased with this new rework. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's also, I have noticed that one of the things that they did add was there are quick melee combos with Sledge, but you have to use one of two things. Either you use Lock Bolt, which is fine, but if we're higher competitive play, there's a lot of people that would prefer something else. Or it forces you to use Winch.
Right.
Which, funnily enough, a lot of people complaining about Hammer being too powerful are complaining about the hammer uses that use winch,
Right.
because winch is what made the hammer extremely annoying to deal with.
Exactly.
So now that there are quick melee combos like primary quick melee winch on a light will kill him, or with a heavy, secondary primary winch quick melee.
Right.
Hold on, let me test that out.
No, that's
I know
right.
there's one for them. So secondary primary quick melee winch.
Right.
So with all that included, it still makes winch the best specialization for a hammer to use.
Right. Which is what they should be pushing away from.
Yes, I feel like that is going to cause more complaints, and they're going to, again, nerf Sledge like they did last time, when it's actually winch that was the problem.
Right.
They just don't want to nerf winch because for some reason winch is their baby.
Exactly. Right. Now, I actually don't have... I mean, the reason why we're talking about this is because the damage output numbers are pretty fine, pretty safe. I mean, realistically, they probably could nerf it slightly and it would be fine. Now, the secondary glancing blows being down to 150 is somewhat of a big deal, just because if you're consistently not doing precise hits, which is common in high-level play because the enemies have good movement, dealing 150 damage... it adds another. It forces you to implement an entirely extra swing in order to get a kill, and that's obviously a big deal at that level of play. But lower levels of play, Sledgehammer. If you're a new player and you're picking up melee, Sledgehammer is a great option for you. It's very oppressive in these lower level lobbies, from what I'm hearing, especially in more casual game modes like Point Break. But as someone whose main game mode is ranked, I want to posit a different perspective, that Sledgehammer is receiving the same nerfs that all the other melee weapons are receiving, which is the new systems that they're adding. So Sledgehammer was just graced with also not receiving a damage nerf. Okay, so up next we have is Spear. Now again, neither of us have too much experience with Spear. What little use case I've had with Spear is when I did the secondary animation canceling. So I've never actually legitimately used Spear for very long. But I will just briefly go over the changes. The old sequence for the primary was a 3-attack sequence. It did 65 damage, then 80 damage, then 90 damage. Now it's just 2 attacks, and they do 74 damage each for precision and 55 damage for glancing. That is a straight up nerf. The lowest damage was 65, then 80, then 90. Precise is lower than all of them, -1. Glancing is lower than all of them by 10. The primary lunge was decreased from 7.5 meters all the way down to 5 meters.
Wait, they decreased the lunge?
By 1.5 meters. Massive.
Even with the lunge system, it's decreased.
Correct.
Wait a minute.
Explain to me.
I did not know that.
Yeah, explain to me the logic behind that. The weakest, I mean, probably arguably, well, I would say almost unarguably the weakest melee weapon.
Yeah, I would argue even worse than Dagger.
I would say 1,000%, because at least you can get good at Dagger. At Spear, you can get...
Yeah.
I mean, you can get good at Spear, but it's like the ceiling is much lower in Spear than it is for Dagger. But so then the secondary, the old, was a 3-attack combo that you were supposed to be locked in. Spin attack did 105 damage for each. Embark got it wrong in their patch notes. They said it did 100 damage each, which is, I don't know, it's not that big of a deal, but yeah, they just got it wrong. It's 105 damage per. Did 315 total. Now they split it into 3 distinct parts. Now it does 75 damage for the first, 100 damage for the second, and 126 for the third. That's actually 14 damage decrease if you actually hit someone for all 3 attacks. So another nerf. The spin also requires stamina. Sounds very cool in concept. It raises the skill ceiling in order to use it, because if you do the spin attack for the first hit, you need to hit someone. If you hit someone, then you can go into the second. If you hit someone again, then you can go into the third. If you miss at any point, it limits your ability to go into the next spin attack. Sounds cool. The problem is you can no longer pre-fire. Spear was the pre-firing weapon of the finals. because you could trigger the secondary before someone rounded a corner. You could kind of defend a little area on the platform and power shift. It's what gave Spear its very little identity and utility. And now,
Yeah, one of the main strategies that I saw a lot with Spear is when your teammate is stealing a cash box, you smoke it and then just swing on top of them.
right,
It was one of the few super effective Spear strategies.
Right.
And now that's kind of obsolete because you have to wait for someone to get near you.
Yeah.
And if there's no one near you, there's not much you can do.
right. And I mean, did any of us have trouble fighting Spear before with those strategies? Like, I'm a melee player. I have to get hit by a Spear in order to do damage, but it's like, it's the one thing that made Spear viable in mid-level lobbies, you know?
Yeah.
So
I was a Dagger light player.
right.
And I have to
You
get
get two-tapped.
behind them in order to get, I get two tapped. They get two tapped by me. I never saw an issue with Spear.
Right.
I never had that much of a problem.
Right.
I mean, sometimes they would kill me, sometimes I would kill them. I've actually had clips where somehow, like, I can duck underneath some of their swings
Right.
in their secondary hit.
Right.
So their swing wasn't all encompassing either.
Mm-hmm.
So I never saw an issue. I don't know what prompted this change or what embark was on when they made this change, because it's overall, like, it's not even like, oh, it looks like a buff, but it's actually nerf. It's like, no, it's just a straight up nerf.
Right. Exactly. Last one is sword. Of all the weapons to reward, why did they choose the sword? So the old primary did 88 damage. How much did it used to do before this new rework? Like in 6.3, before that, what did the sword's primary do? Do you remember?
No idea.
Okay. Well, it was below 88. They buffed it.
Oh, I think it was like 74 or something.
Yes, it was 74 or 74 damage because you couldn't two tap.
I
it. You
don't
had to
know how I pulled that off the top of my head. But
You had to, because I remember you had to quick melee in order to kill a light. You had to do primary, quick melee. And 74 would get you to 148. Now you could 2-tap lights, 3-tap mediums, and 4-tap heavies with the 88 output. And actually, with the Sledgehammer, I can 1-tap lights, but they would oftentimes kill me before I could even get my one attack off. Because if they got the jump on me and they got a full primary hit before I could trigger my secondary swing, they could actually get their 3 primary hits off before I could get my 1 secondary. Which means that sword became one of the most oppressive melee weapons in lower level lobbies. Now, they bumped it up to 110. 110. Which means they can 3-tap heavies if they quick melee and use a tracking dart. They can 3-tap heavies. Isn't
and
that
you know
crazy?
What they can also do now? They can 3-tap they can 2-tap quick melee a medium.
Mm-hmm.
You lunge, quick melee, and then primary, and you kill the medium.
Right.
And for a medium, that is a quick death.
Right.
Another thing with the sword that makes it a huge buff compared to the other melee weapons with the new system is that you can lunge whenever you want.
Right.
You basically have, and so when they decrease the dash from 3 to 2, for the sword, you basically still have 3 dashes.
Right.
You can dash, lunge, and you have an effective 3 dashes.
Mm-hmm.
Lunge charges up super quick. It's super easy to use it effectively as a 3rd dash. And so why would they give this weapon such a... I would honestly say 3 dashes on a sword is a lot more annoying than 3 dashes on a dagger.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. Like, of all people, I mean, sword was the one melee weapon that everyone, melee user or not, agreed needed to second look at. Because sword used to be one of the coolest weapons in the game. Was it oppressive? Yeah. Was it cool? Yeah. Now it's just oppressive and absolutely like, they specifically said so many, I mean, ad nauseum, they were talking about they don't want the spam. They don't want the spam. And then their solution is, let's increase the most spammed weapon in the entire game. Let's increase the damage output by 22. Like, what are we doing? Why?
And still have decent quick melee combos as well.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is like you can do 3 primaries. Like you don't even need a secondary to 3-tap heavies. Like I mean, you could do 1 secondary, and then 2 primaries, and then a quick melee. You can get a heavy, but you can literally just walk up primary, quick melee, tracking dart, and you got a heavy done.
You can also primary a medium by 1 precise hit, and then 2 imprecise hits will kill a medium as well.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that doesn't make sense to me because Sword, again, will not be oppressive in high-level lobbies still, but oh my goodness, like, you made it worse in low-level lobbies. I don't, that makes no sense to me, and we all know a nerf is going to be incoming, and they're going to gut it again. That's what is so sad. Because it genuinely is one of the coolest melee weapons in the game. It's one of the most
one of the most movement-based weapons.
Right.
You see so many awesome clips with it.
Mm-hmm.
People getting those launching across the map, going back and forth with its launch where they can't even track them. And you see a lot of them now because of the recent, from some of the previous nerfs, where they use tracking dart in order to compensate for that little bit of damage that they needed to get a kill. And it's just super awesome seeing someone with such, going from high sensitivity to also still being able to track with the tracking dart.
Right. No, I mean, it's kind of sad to see, but all right, so that's kind of the end of this video. I know that you guys might be wondering, like, what about the precision, and what about the stamina, and what about the lunge? Well, I'm actually saving that for a scripted video, since those topics are a little bit more nuanced and a little more complicated. Feel free to share your thoughts on all the melees in the description. I'd love to hear. I read all your comments. I reply to as many as I can. I always enjoy the feedback, and if you disagree with me, like, I'm happy to hear it. You know, Lucid and I I've been using melee since season 3 only. Like, not just a lot, not just maining it. Like, we don't touch guns. It's just melee. So, I just want to note that we're pretty experienced we're about as experienced as you can get with the melee. So that's
we're pretty stuck in our ways sometimes with melee.
And so that also, yeah, you're right, and that's a good point too, because that means sometimes we're a little less open-minded to change. So if you think that some of these changes are good, I want to hear it. I'm open to having my mind changed, and I also do want to say one more time that I am overall happy that Embark chose to try something. It kind of stinks the way that some of it turned out, but I'm optimistic on the fact that Embark really stuck their neck out, and they really, I think, put a lot of effort into this, and so I'm very happy with that. Anyways, that's it. I'll see you guys with another video coming very soon.
Bye.